The 2022 Formula One season is almost upon us, with teams set to unveil their new cars over the next week or two. It's a fresh start for the sport in many ways, with an all new design philosophy with new regulations that offer teams a blank canvas and fans the potential of a new pecking order. In a series that's been dominated by Mercedes in recent years, only for Red Bull to upset the apple cart a little bit last year, what we look forward to this year is the opportunity for more teams to mix at the front with more competitive racing because of the new regulations. But we talk about the regulations a lot. What does it actually mean? In short, different looking cars with bigger 18-inch wheels as opposed to 13-inch used previously. The cars are sleeker, with the result of a new aerodynamic philosophy that channels the air under the car more than over the wings. In theory, that creates less turbulent air and allows them to follow more closely. That's the fundamentals. That's why we're doing this wholesale change that's been described by some as the biggest change in Formula One's regulatory history. So let's take a closer look at what we can expect to see as teams unveil their all-new cars. Front and rear wings will be simpler, without the aerodynamic intricacies that have developed in recent years. Even the styling will be visibly different, with a more futuristic concept. That's because rather than the wings pushing the cars down, they're instead going to be sucked to the ground by the way the air is channeled under the car's floor. Formula One's motorsport boss Ross Brawn has suggested that this will lead to a significant improvement when it comes to cars being able to follow one another. And that's really what this is all about, improving the racing by creating rules that let cars run more closely. For the last 40 years, Formula One has generated downforce primarily using wings in the airstream. The downside of that is the turbulence it creates, which means a car running behind has less grip available because there's less air going over its wings. Cue ground effect, where the air under the car is far more important. Compressed in tunnels under the side pods, the air accelerates, creating an area of low pressure. It's Bernoulli's principal law in motorsport terms, ground effects. It was first pioneered in motorsport by Jim Hall with Chaparral in the 1960s, and Brabham had a swing at something similar with its infamous fan car. But it wasn't until the Lotus 79 that the concept was properly exploited. Other teams soon followed, and the amount of downforce generated steadily increased as the concept was refined until being banned at the end of 1982. The benefit of ground effect is that cars are theoretically less susceptible to dirty air, meaning they can follow one another more closely. It's hoped this will spice up the on-track action, and at its heart is why Formula One has made such a drastic change. Will it work? We don't know. It's a seismic shift for Formula One, which has invested huge amounts of time and effort in developing these rules, and the simulations suggest that they will. But we all know that simulations don't always get it right, so just how good these new rules are is one of the great unknowns heading into the 2022 season. And that brings us on to the teams. Just who will have the upper hand when the racing gets underway in Bahrain is another of this season's great questions. Mercedes, as we know, has dominated the previous era from 2014 until last year, winning the Constructors' Championship in every season and the Drivers' Championship every year until last year. But we won't go into that. All through last season, teams had a difficult balancing act. How much effort do they put into the 2021 season to secure a good result then, versus switching to the 2022 car to have good pace now? Haas and Williams made the change early, which may give them an advantage over the likes of Mercedes and Red Bull that were locked in a no-holds-barred battle for the World Championship. In reality, the order isn't likely to change wildly. The teams at the front are there for a reason. They've got the best people, the best facilities, and the best processes. Before the Bahrain season opener, there's just 6 days of pre-season testing, 3 in Spain from February 23, and another 3 in Bahrain from March 10. That's it as far as preparations for the 2022 season go. Teams might make use of a filming day in the lead up to shake down their cars, but they're limited to only 100 kilometers of running on Pirelli tyres that aren't the same as what they race on. 6 days seems a lot, but when you're talking about a whole new philosophy of design, any loss of running will be critical. Reliability has never been more important in pre-season. Teams will be working on cooling, basic setup changes, reliability, systems checks, and getting the driver comfortable and settled in the car that they'll call home for 23 weekends throughout the year. It's from those 6 days that we're going to get a sniff of a form guide, but it's never that simple in Formula One. Nothing ever is. Games are going to be played. Teams will show or hide their potential based on what they think is in their best interest. So while we might get an idea of the running order, the true picture of just how much different Formula One in 2022 is going to be won't actually reveal itself until the season proper gets going in Bahrain late next month.